Thank you very much, Mr. Stratham. Now, of course, for most of us, the holidays are over, and now that the party has stopped, the one thing that we're thinking about now is our dreaded bank statements, right?
Yes.
And with us in studio to chat about dealing with the headache of having spent too much over the holiday season and to give us advice on how to use our money wisely over the next coming year is certified financial planner Grant van Zyl. And Grant will also be taking some of your questions. So do call us on 083-913-3728. Like I said, during December, these bank statements and these debit orders never loved us, Grant. They never loved us.
They never loved us.
Yeah, no, I could imagine. It gets a bit hectic out there, eh?
Yeah. Well, Grant, experts are saying that 2016 is going to be a tough year on the average South African. Well, at least their pocket, and they say that the consumer debt is already too high, with the festive spending having been higher what people could afford. Do you agree with the sentiment?
Well, unfortunately, I actually do agree with the sentiment. It's quite a scary one going into 2016, and I think the best way for me to just make it practical for people to understand is to use an analogy. I like using analogies to explain things and make it into layman's terms. So if we take South Africa as a PTY Limited, so it's a company. If we go into investing into any form of companies, the first thing we look at is the credit rating of a company.
Okay.
Now, in 2015, the credit rating of South Africa was dropped. The significance of this is that it was dropped to just above junk status.
Junk status?
Junk status.
Okay, that's not good at all.
So that means, to make it even to more layman's terms, is if you follow football, the Premier League, we were almost relegated from the Premier League into a nothing league.
So we're like Chelsea right now. We were really good at one time, and now we are really
No, leave Chelsea alone. Leave Chelsea alone.
He's a fan.
Chelsea's all right. So, yeah, so basically we like Chelsea on the log at the moment, but right at the bottom. What that means is investors lose confidence in the country. In essence, the important part of that is people start selling off rands.
Okay.
So if we look at supply and demand, if we've got a major supply of rands, so people selling off rands, a low demand for it, what happens? The rand weakens. So that's what we've seen in the last year, which is really tragic. What tends to follow from that is inflation starts kicking in. So we'll have higher food prices, high electricity, water prices could go out of the roof, especially with the drought up north, water restrictions kicking in here in Cape Town. Then what follows from that, so this is just a terrible snowball effect, what follows from that is interest rates start to kick up. In South Africa, we've had low interest rates over the last few years, recovering from subprime and the whole recession. So the only way from here is up with the interest rate. So by the end of the year, I'm predicting most probably 50 basis points that we could go up by, but who knows? I think that's a conservative projection. The cherry on the top is political instability. Unfortunately, with our debacle last year with our finance ministers, that really hurt the country. It really put us back a couple of hundred billions of rands. So that could take us quite a few years to recover from that. I mean, it was a weak debacle, but I mean, it's got major ramifications on the country. So having given you that analogy and that picture, the South African PTY Limited is going to take a little bit of time to recover from the whole setup.
And of course, we as the public are like the employees of the PTY Limited. And apparently it's been revealed by statistics that we are the biggest borrowers in the world. In fact, twice as much as the closest country to us. And with hiking interest rates, this is even worse because it means when you pay back, you're going to be paying back at a higher interest rate. So how do people in the short term, we're talking in the next 3-4 months, manage their debt in the best way possible?
Yeah, so a very simplistic answer is don't get into debt.
Well, it's too late now because December's already passed and we've already borrowed all the money that we needed for the parties. Now I owe like 30 grand.
Yeah, completely.
Just, you know, as an example.
So another simplistic example, which I use a lot with my clients, is learn how to say no fast. The faster you learn how to say no, the less chance you're going to be spending money on irrational things. Second tip would be to really try to understand what your budget looks like. A lot of people aren't really paying much attention to budgeting because it's quite a monotonous, boring sort of thing. But I think the last thing I'd like to say on that is understand what do you want to achieve out of life. And when I say life, I don't mean just right now. I mean forecast, create a financial strategy for the rest of your life. So not just now, retirement. What do you want your retirement to look like? 6% of people in the world can retire comfortably. Do you want to be part of those 6%, or do you want to just splurge your money now and then have nothing later?
So would you say, so just to get back to that, the secret to begin to handle your short-term obligations in terms of credit is to start off with a budget. Look at what you're getting at the beginning of the month and where's all the money going out and how you can start paying that back.
100%, yeah.
Okay.
I'd say a budget is your priority.
All right,
Okay.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to carry on with the conversation with Grant right after the break. So if you need to have some financial advice or have questions to ask, do give us a call on 083-913-3728. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with your Feel Good Breakfast Show.